All right, we still have people coming in, but just wanted to say welcome, good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for this webinar. My name is Stephen Branstetter. I'm the Chief Operations Officer here at KYG Trade. If you don't know, KYG stands for Know Your Goods. So that's what we help you do, know your goods. Before we get into the good stuff, some of you have heard me say this before, but let's get some logistics out of the way. So Q&A, please ask questions. At the very top in your menu bar, you're going to see a Q&A button. Use that button to ask questions along the way. We've disabled chat, so there's no confusion as to where to post those questions. But we're going to try to get to all your questions throughout the webinar today. If there is anything we don't get to, we'll get back to you via email today or tomorrow. So we'll get back to you very quickly. Recording. We are not going to automatically send the recording, but if you and your company want it, please let us know. You can email leslie@kyg.ai to request this recording, and we'll put that email address in the Q&A section chat now, and we'll list it again at the end of the meeting. So with that, let's get to the good stuff. So it is my pleasure to introduce the CEO and founder of KYG Trade, Todd Smith. Todd's a licensed customs broker. He's a former partner in the trade and customs practice at KPMG and EY, but he left the Big Four during COVID, and he did that to start KYG Trade. He did it with a trade attorney, Aaron Ansel. He's now our chief AI officer, and they've been building something special and getting folks like me and others to come up along the way and build out this team, build out this great product to help this industry. So with that all said, let's get going. Welcome to the What's the ROI? Building a quantifiable case for trade automation. Todd, over to you.
Thank you. Are my slides appearing?
Yep, we can see them.
Great. So thank you, Stephen, and thank you everyone for joining our webinar today. It's the summer. We have a record turnout. What can I say? Summer's hot, trade is hot. So I got to start off by saying that we're being inundated with discovery calls and demos from trade compliance professionals interested in our trade tech because they need help staying on top of the changes, answering questions that the CEO and the board have on the impact the tariffs will have on either their operations and their margins. It's all over the news. Doesn't matter what channel you watch, CNN, Fox, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, it's everywhere. And yet, we're also hearing that you need help to present a business case on why you need software to help. All I can say is, really, just give them this slide. Seriously, you can download and we will make available the slides. But like if you give them the slide and they don't believe this slide, well, then show them this slide. So I got slides in here, guys, to help you build your business case with your leadership. So do believe it. I've never seen anything like this. Check out these numbers. I spent 20 years at the Big Four consulting with clients, helping them through audits. Never seen anything like the number of audits this year. In March alone, 71 audits, 310 million in loss of revenue collected. Never seen anything like it. And the Liberation Day executive order, it's causing both chaos and I would say opportunities for all of you. Budgets are opening up like never before. Money is being thrown to solve, manage, fix tariff and global trade compliance management. And the changes, well, they just keep coming. So you may have heard that de minimis ends because of the big beautiful bill that was written into the big beautiful bill which passed. So it's coming, it's happening. It's going to end in 2027. Some of you may already be impacted by this because it's stopped for imports, low value imports from China and Hong Kong. The 2025 estimates, these are actual import shipments. These are, the value coming through low value shipments is projected to hit 1.6 billion shipments through low value this year. May not hit that, because of the cutoff of China and Hong Kong. But I just did some quick math, and I just took, I made an assumption that if it takes on average 3 minutes to classify a product, and I think that's on the low side, it would require 80 million hours to classify 1,000,006 parts, assuming there's only one part per shipment. And so why will 1.6 parts or shipments have to be classified all of a sudden? It's because if you were importing through low value shipments, you didn't have to report a 10-digit HS code or a country of origin. With that ending, those are going to need to be classified. And so how are we going to do this? The demand for highly paid, skilled knowledge workers to get through all these classifications, the demand for you and people like you is higher than ever before. You're either going to have to, if you're impacted by any of this, you're either going to have to hire more people or turn to automation. So there's your business case. No, seriously, like getting back to the regularly scheduled programming, we're going to talk about ROI and total cost of ownership and how to build that business case that your leadership is asking for if they're not watching the news or listening to the news. And the way that I am framing and presenting today is it's going to cover how to put together a strong business case for both return on investment and total cost of ownership, like over a 5-year period. And we're going to look at it from not only from the cost of software, but holistically, including the cost of hiring more people. From a technology standpoint, we're going to look at buy versus build. And what I mean by buy in this case, it's buying a what I refer to, or the industry refers to as best in breed global trade management, that's GTM software, like the companies that you see here, like KYG Trade, like Thomson Reuters OneSource, Descartes, MIC, E2Open, AEB, QAD, ClearNow. These are companies that have built-in features and functions and content that really is out of the box. So unlike the build, and what I mean by build is like these would be the ERP software providers, primarily SAP and Oracle, that do have modules, SAP GTS, Oracle GTM. But really what those are, I kind of refer to as you get a skeleton, you get a room, but you do have to hire some very highly paid, expensive consultants to come in and finish and build and put in the plumbing and the electricity and really get that furnishing and get it built working just right for you. That takes a lot of effort. And so to me, even though you're buying software from SAP or Oracle, you still got to spend a lot of effort building it out to make it work for you. That's what I mean by build. And so when it gets to the ROI of software projects, you have to realize that your CTO, your IT leadership is really having to juggle their own and the company's dollars on where they spend on IT and technology. So they're having to prioritize lots of different requests coming from lots of different departments, and they're having to allocate that. And they have to be accountable, to their leadership, to their stakeholders on how those IT resources and dollars are being spent. And so it's important that you have a very tight, cogent presentation on the ROI, and it's presented in a language that they understand, and we're going to help you through that. But just to give you an example of ROI, the type of ROI that you're competing with on other projects, 5 to 10% would be a decent project. As you see here, anything in the 30 to 50%, we would say is more high performing. And I can tell you that, based on the cost of these highly skilled knowledge workers, licensed customs brokers, trained attorneys, et cetera, And looking at also the savings that are being left on the table from free trade agreements, there's actually a pretty good ROI with trade automation software. So I mentioned a minute ago that you have to speak the language, of the IT financing and CTO leadership, and so you don't want to walk in with words like HTS and ECN and section 321 and 301 and 232. I mean, you have to speak their language, and these are the terms. This is the terminology that they understand. TCO, total cost of ownership. Not just, how much is it going to cost me today, but over the life of the project. Payback period. If I invest $100,000 today, how long is it going to take me to get that back? Net present value, which also goes into internal rate of return. We're gonna show you a quick and easy, relatively easy way to come up with these metrics for your project, for your particular fact pattern, literally with a few clicks of a button. So before we do that, though, I want to let you know what goes into building out a TCO ROI type analysis. And as you see here, you have to take into account both direct and indirect costs. And so it's important that you think about all of these things on the left, but don't discount the things on the right, because those things on the right are also going to play into the model, and you're going to get asked questions from your leadership about these things. I have a lot of detail around answers to direct cost and indirect cost that are very specific to import and export compliance and operations in the deck, again, that you can request, and we'll provide it to you. So you can have some really good content around each of these things. The other thing that's very important to include in the analysis, and or at least just have answers to, because you're going to get asked, have to do with the goals and objectives around trade automation. So you really need to think, it's not just I can not have to hire more people. It's things around savings, around reducing errors, about improving compliance and reducing penalties. It's about getting more done with the same or fewer amount of people. It's all of these things that you see here that need to be written and thought about within the context of import-export operations and compliance. And then, as it relates to the buy versus build discussion, I've gone through quite a bit of detail in here, and this is a really good comparison between the benefits of buy versus build. And so each one of these are components that go into a really good ROI. You have to think about the initial development that's going to be involved to get your instance of your software up and running. And I will tell you that each of the elements on the left really favor the best in breed buy answers here. So like infrastructure and hosting is always going to be less in a best in breed buy situation. The licensing and subscription fees are going to be less. I do understand that in some cases SAP has just thrown in GTS, but there still is quite a bit of cost in that shell that they're giving you. In some cases, you can't not use it. They will say, like, if you say, I want to not use GTS, we want to use KYG Trade or one of these other software providers, my understanding is that SAP won't give a credit if you don't use it, because it's just part of their package. And I would argue, even with the fact that you're having, and the company's having to pay for that unused GTS software, it's still going to be less expensive to go with a best in breed solution. And you can use the modeling that we have to basically to show that. The maintenance and support is going to be less with a best in breed solution than it will be for your own solution, because you're going to have basically dedicated IT resources, or you're going to have to hire a third-party systems integrator who's going to provide, 4.9 support, level 1, 2, 3 support. Training is generally easier in the best-in-breed buy scenario because usually the UI is friendlier. It's easier to work with. So the end user satisfaction is generally higher than those that are working like in Fiori. I mean, it's just a better experience overall. Fewer customizations, integrations, again, because you have so much that is just out of the box. Content is already there. In a lot of cases, it is with us. All the rules of origin for all free trade agreements, all tariff schedules, constantly being updated. And then, upgrades and enhancements. Usually with a best in breed solution, the software provider, and certainly we do, we're constantly updating our software based on every tweet and truth that comes out. We're updating the software versus if you have an ERP-based solution, you're more than likely going to have to put a proposal together in a business case together for why you need to go now and go bring in the consultants to come in and reconfigure, customize, change, whatever, that customized build that you had done early on now to reflect the new normal, which today happens to be a lot of Chapter 99, for example, or evaluating bills of materials for derivatives. I mean, it's changing constantly. And a best-in-breed solution provider like KYG Trade is going to be on top of that and is going to be constantly iterating and updating and staying on top of those regulations. You thought I was done, but no, there's more. So even development costs, if there is an enhancement or something very specific that has to be done, you can get that done in either scenario. I would argue it'll get done faster and less expensive in this column here. The implementation and setup time is going to be more streamlined. You're going to go live faster because you have all of these built-in features and functions that are out of the box. The risk that you're going to miss a go live is going to be less because, again, there's just a lot of out-of-the-box configurations versus customizations that have to be done. And generally, again, you'll be able to keep up with the tariff chaos. So I'm just checking in. I've been going over a lot. Stephen, I don't see any hands raised, so I guess I'll just keep going. But yeah, feel free to ask questions. I can go like this for the full hour. Okay, so the other thing that is very important when working on projects like this is, you want to let your leadership know that you're going to be spending their dollars wisely, your dollars wisely, and to prove it, you're going to put in KPIs and controls to monitor, how well you're living up to the ROI that you put together in the first place. So it's good to go in with a plan that shows what you're actually going to be tracking and measuring and reporting on after you go live. And so again, this presentation, this topic is not about an HR feature or an accounts payable software. This is for trade SaaS software, all right? This is what I think you would want to build into a business case that would cover these KPIs. So clearly, the time, the cost, the effort, the number of classifications and free trade agreements. If you're using outside trade consulting now and your business case is, hey, if I have this automation, I don't have to increase the amount of the outside trade consulting, or maybe I can reduce it. So that becomes a KPI that you measure. Minutes, hours saved doing those things, the error rates, how many you're getting done, how many users are on the system. User satisfaction, also a very important thing to track, because if the users aren't happy, productivity, efficiency, will go down. Okay, so in terms of efficiency, minutes, hours saved, again, I said we're getting inundated with inbound activity, requests for demos and discovery calls to help you get through your day faster. So from an efficiency, productivity gain standpoint, I just wanted to put this out there. I mean, this is really based on what we're seeing. I would say it's based on live empirical data. What we're seeing is that overall, you could expect about a 75% improvement in productivity and efficiency using a platform like KYG Trade because of the AI and the automations that are built into it. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about there not being a human in the loop. I'm not advocating that there not be a human in the loop. What I mean by that, what I mean by that is you can use our software or other AI software out there, and after you use it for a period of time, you're going to get comfortable with the outcome and the results. With our software, you have the ability to audit the results. You can look at the algorithms and the decisioning that our AI made. For example, with tariff classification, literally at the indent level. So if the requirement in the indent is 50 watts versus 100 watts, could be the difference between code A or B, you will see that our AI looked at that requirement, found the answer, or did not find the answer and made an assumption, or you can tell it not to make an assumption and just stop. So there's a lot of controls and a lot of audit ability around the decisioning. And so as you get comfortable with the output and you yourself audit the results, just like you should be auditing classifications that your own internal staff, your outside consultants, your brokers, whomever are doing periodic post-entry type audits. Once you're comfortable, you do let those autocomplete. But there's still a human, that ultimately needs to put their signature, their stamp, their signature on it, because at the end of the day, it's the human, it's the importer of record that has the ultimate responsibility, as I'm sure most of you know. But what that does is it also frees up your team to go to now work on other things like I got to focus on free trade agreement qualifications, or I got to look into derivative copper, steel, and aluminum. It really does free your time up. There's still a percentage of the classifications that are going to come in that are going to have a low confidence or percentile that just have to go to a human because the AI doesn't have enough information. And what we're finding there is that for those where the human has to look at it each and every time, they're able to get through those classifications about 30% faster. So all in all, we're at a 75% productivity gain. And the analysis that you would do, therefore, your ROI analysis, your TCO analysis factors in, that type of productivity. And we'll show you that here in a minute. So just, summing up the overall process for putting together a good plan I have here. Definitely, there should be alignment today with the strategic objectives and scope around trade automation. I talked about that in the beginning. It needs to be comprehensive. You need to build in, really good quantifiable measurement cost on the front end as well as KPIs on the back end. Don't discount the intangible benefits. We're some of our clients that are, we have users using our software day in and day out. For free trade agreements, classification, duty rates, et cetera. And now they're getting asked, and I'm sure you guys are getting asked again from the analytics folks in the company, the CFO's office for, how duty rates and tariffs are impacting. That's an intangible benefit. If you have software and you're able to get those answers fast, that's not what you went in for to spend what you spent to get global trade management software, but it is definitely an intangible benefit because now you have that at your fingertips and you can propagate that out to other users within the organization who need that type of data. You can run and should be able to run different sensitivity and scenario analysis, what if scenarios, what if go live is late, what are we going to do? And of course, have those KPIs. I do see a question, Stephen. Nope. Okay.
Nope. I just want to make a quick point, Todd.
Yep.
As you go through these, this number one at the top, aligning with strategic objectives and defining scope, uh, every boardroom in the country and maybe in the world is having the same conversation right now. It is, what are you doing? You know, boards are asking their leadership, what are you doing to be more efficient? What are you doing to utilize technology, utilize AI to run a more efficient organization? And this is a perfect part of that initiative. So there's all of the dollars and cents that we're going to dive into even further that help to make this case. But starting with this top one and aligning with an objective that you know your company has is also a really powerful element to making the overall business case. I don't know if anybody saw this. Ring cameras. So this is the camera. You go up to front door, you know, you call someone and it shows the video. Ring cameras, there's been a lot of news about them recently. They're making it a requirement. In order to get promoted, you have to have shown that you are, as a leader, that you're utilizing AI. And so there's this whole ROI as it relates to the company and the business and where it's going to make your team more efficient and more effective. But there's also this personal element, I think, for all of us, is how are we utilizing AI to build up our own skill set and background so that we are more promotable as well. So I really see this kind of on both sides. It's the ROI for the company, and then the ROI where it is worth it for all of us to invest in ourselves to develop this skill set as well.
Very well said. Thank you for that. All right, so we're going to show you a couple of use cases now, and then we're going to turn it over to Peyton, who's going to show you some of this live, so you know this just isn't a bunch of PowerPoints. But yeah, this is an example of an apparel importer, 100,000 items needing to be classified for 10 different countries, some FTAs, some screening, and 5 UFLPA detentions per year. Our software helps companies quickly put together the document package and the response to detention notices. So we factor that in here as well. And so what our system is going to, our ROI calculator is going to output for you is going to look, you know, something like this. It's going to give you the return on investment, the payback period, the net present value, all those things I was just talking about, the internal rate of return, as well as operational benefits in the form of hours saved, getting things done faster, having the ability to get more done with the same number of people, and then what the required headcount would be using our software with the efficiency percentages that I just showed you, and of course the financial benefits, and then there's the payback. Here's another example of a smaller situation, 45,000 parts, 12 countries, both HS and export classification. We got license management, more restricted party screening, and integrations into legacy systems like SAP. And so here again, this model is built to be very flexible, to take into account what you need, what services, what features of the platform you need. And guys, you actually could use this for any software solution out there. We're at some point soon going to make the tool that Peyton is going to show you here publicly available. Today, we're using it internally with you on a one-on-one basis to come up with the ROI for our software. So, but you know, this could be anybody's software. There's that scenario. Then there's another one with even a smaller example of a company that has 8,000 parts, only US, a few free trade agreements, US content. What is US content calculation? That's the ability to go in and look at your bill of materials and determine if there's sufficient US content to eliminate or reduce the amount of reciprocal tariffs that you pay. We have a feature to enable you to do that. And if you're a US importer, the ability also to evaluate and qualify factories and vendors for first sale. as well as if you already have a first sale program in place with a vendor factory combination, we can evaluate those to make sure that they still comply, after being implemented. So these again are just features that we offer on the site. We factor in the cost associated with those, and then we build out your ROI model. In addition to these figures that you see here, I mentioned 5-year analysis. Your CFO is going to want to see this. Here it is, right? So we got the initial. This would be on a bigger implementation. We got your initial investment. This is the upfront cost before you go live. And then we have operationally what your costs are. This would be a combination of things, including our software, as well as, even with our software and the other best in breed software providers out there, if it's a really large single instance implementation, you're going to need some dedicated IT resources to support that. Not as many as you would need if it were an ERP-based solution. So that's all built in here: the productivity gains, the tariff gains, and then those net cumulative present value, the discount rate for coming up with the net present value. And then you're going to get this really beautiful report, which I know you can't read, but we're going to show you what that looks like in a minute. The other cool thing that we have is we really give a lot of detail around headcount. So and specifically around classification. As I mentioned, our platform does many things besides just classification, but this is something that a lot of people are really, having a difficult time with. I just discussed, the number of classifications that are going to need to be done with de minimis going away, but it's with the reciprocal tariffs and the Chapter 99s, it's really taking a lot of time. So our model will look at your current headcount, whether they're onshore or offshore. You can tell us today, we can get our classifications done, like one classification every 5 minutes, every 6, whatever it is. We can build in how long it's taking you today. And then, using our software with that efficiency gain that I just showed, we're basically going to give you numbers that would show you, well, look, you can get more classifications done with the same number of people you have using our software, or you can, with the same people you have, you can get those classifications done in a fewer number of months, like you have a big backlog and you need to figure out how long it's going to take you. Or you could say, look, I'm using outside resources. If I could reduce the outside resources and get the same number of done, what would that look like? So that's all going to be included in the analysis that we have here. And you are going to be able to click a button and then get a customized report that's very specific to your fact pattern, and of course PDF it. All right. So enough of the PowerPoint. Peyton, do you want to take it over and show everybody the live tool?
Yes. With that, let me start sharing my screen here. Let me know when you can see it.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for the intro. To put a little color into how those visuals were created, we created this ROI calculator where on the left side here on this panel, you have our inputs. And these comprise of everything that we offer on the platform, combined with some of the information that you already have that you're using internally. So to start here, we have HS classification, where we have number of parts, number of countries, the top level information here for just HS classification, and then going down the list, we have export that we saw in like another example where, these sliders dynamically change all the numbers that you see on the right here. Number of parts obviously increases and changes a lot of numbers there as well. And then just going down the list further, we have FTA qualification as well, where we can, increase, number of bills of materials, for that type of qualification as well. And we also have additional features. So our tariff rate panel for visibility into all the new rates that are updated, regulatory monitoring and research, forced labor. So, mentioned earlier, like UFLPA detention response, restricted party screening, monitoring. So listing of all the other features that we also offer as well. And then, as just mentioned, full-time equivalent and labor information to, see how you can, use the amount of people that you have to either get more done, be more efficient that way. And then here, additional features that we offer. So US content for sale, and then other qualifications related to, bomb extraction, and then other document extraction capabilities as well. Then we have, additional tariff savings potentials, missed savings, maybe not being able to do some of those qualifications currently. As we can see, they're captured in some of these other high level metrics over here. And then here we have those efficiency gains that were touched on a bit as well. So we have, the 75% that we've seen from what our customers report to us, and then other time savings as well. And then, from the implementation, we're, very, open with that. With every SaaS platform, you'll have to include some type of implementation cost. So that's all calculated in here as well. And then, scrolling down from these top level metrics where you have all of this calculated for you, we have some of those charts and graphs, based on your inputs and the features that were highlighted in this panel here. You can get your cost breakdown, cost comparison, and then, a financial projection here as well. And then if we want to look at kind of like that more detailed analysis that we were just looking at, we can expand and look into how some of those numbers were also calculated. And then, again, the tariff savings breakdown, operational here as well. So we have it in this single view. And then finally, once these are all finalized and put together, you can put in your organization name, where then that report is generated that you can, give internally instead of, doing any heavy lifting on your own, where you have all that information compiled, what about KYG Trade, about each of these solutions, what they'll do for you and your organization, download, send internally, review internally, and then make your ROI case.
Fantastic, Peyton. Really good work there. Any questions from the audience before we conclude? All right, let me bring my my deck back up and we'll wrap up. Stephen, you don't have to do anything, do you?
I shouldn't have to do anything.
All right, yeah, here it is.
There we go.
Yeah, let me just get to where I left off. Thank you, Peyton. That was great. All right, so just, not going to spend a lot more time on this. We actually covered a lot of the things that we do. We're enterprise grade. HP Enterprise is one of our, premier enterprise customers. We have many at this point. We're ISO 27001, fully, integrated via bidirectional JSON APIs in and out of SAP, PTC Windchill, even other global trade management platforms. We can deploy in a multi-tenant SaaS environment or a single instance environment. We're currently hosted on Azure. In addition to being able to classify, we have amazing capabilities around research and doing rulings and cross rulings research using artificial intelligence and natural language processing, and even graph technology, as you can see here, really speeds up your research and finding those rulings that are most appropriate for your products. From an analytics standpoint, we actually have built a Liberation Day US analytics tool. So this is only for inbound to the US. based on the country of origin of your product. It will figure out, and we're tracking all the different reciprocal tariff rates, as they're being announced and as they're going to be implemented. We can, qualify goods for free trade agreements. This is South Korea, an example where it met the RVC requirement, so it passed. We're also, as I said earlier, looking at U.S. content, so we can help identify reciprocal tariff savings beyond the free trade agreements, as well as steel, copper, and aluminum derivative exposure. But then for the rest of the world, we also have the ability to help with analytics on transactions and shipments that could be obtained either from your ERP or your freight forwarder or your customs broker to give you a global view of tariff impact. We have lots of tools and resources available on our website, including some really informative webinars on how we help with Liberation Day tariffs, about our integration with SAP GTS, and the fact that we could replace and help replace GTS if you're faced with having to upgrade from GTS 11 to E4H. We're a viable alternative to that. And then, of course, reciprocal tariffs. And I guess what I wanted to end by saying is I'm really happy and proud to say that what we are is cool. And if you don't believe me, I'm just the messenger. So we learned about 2 hours ago that Gartner says we're cool. So this is a report that Gartner just came out with called Cool Vendors in Logistics and Fulfillment Technologies, and they say we're cool. So we must be. I'm really happy about that. Joking aside, we would love to hear from you, help you build the business case, to help you win budget, to let us help you, let us help you, help me help you. Go out and get those budget dollars that are out there. They're out there. The boards are now sensitized to the importance of tariffs and planning. You need software to help you manage this. The dollars are there. We're here to help you build the case to go get those dollars. So you can scan the QR code. You have the email addresses, and Stephen, I guess I'll let you wrap it up.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Awesome presentation. What we've heard from our customers and prospects is that the time is now. That there's all these things coming together. That they've got headcount that's held. That the complexity is only increasing, and that ultimately they need help. That they need help in order to do more with less. And the challenge is in doing what we've been talking about today. Making the case, making that ROI case that of all the things your company should invest in, that it should be this, should be your team, and it should be this type of technology. And one of the things I did in my last role as a COO of a public company, multi-billion dollars, and I reviewed everything coming across and every spend that was over $50,000. And any spend over $50,000, the person submitting it had to make a case. And what I would say is what Peyton just showed, that would have blown me away as the person who reviewed it and had to sign off. So I think you can have a lot of confidence as you're building this case, follow those 7 steps that Todd outlined, connect with our team, work with our team to build out that business case. And this is how you're going to get that investment and help your group move forward. All right, that's it. Thanks everybody for joining. Really appreciate it. And if you want this recorded webinar, email leslie@kyg.ai and we'll get it over to you. Thanks all.
Thank you, everybody. Nice.